Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brad and SuperCoach Pro. Today I'm just on a live stream for about half an hour, just talking about the new rule change for SuperCoach 2025 season. Just thought I'd answer any questions as well that may pop up. It is a Sunday evening, 8 p.m. Was going to go live at about 6, but decided to tidy my room and actually put everything in different places, which is a bit strange, but need a bit of a freshen up. So my first thought's actually going to be a little bit controversial in terms of the change of the SuperCoach Flex. In my honest opinion, I think they probably should have kept it just as the classic way without the Flex move. I'm sure it'll keep the newer novice sort of players intrigued more because it will save them a lot for their late changes and stuff like that. But for me personally, I think they should have probably, if it's not broke, don't fix it sort of thing, in my opinion. Even with the trades, I think if we get 40 trades again, it's probably a little bit too much because it's very like AFL fantasy where you just get almost 2 trades a week every week. So it sort of takes out the difficulty of it. So, yeah, I mean, that going forward, everyone's going to get used to it anyway. We're going to have the boost again, you'd think as well. But I kind of wish it was just like it was 5 years ago before the boost was introduced, before all the extra trades, before the flex rule, etc. So, yeah, should be still good. We'll keep more people interested, of course, with the injuries early on. You won't get that 5 anymore. But if you do get multiple players, it's pretty unlucky anyway in a regular round as it is. So, should be too bad. But going forward, there's a few smokies that I'm thinking about jumping on. So I don't want to have the same team. Even the rookies, I'm probably going to steer away from some of the popular rookies potentially and go some Richmond rookies that I'm a fan of. They've been watching preseason videos about as well. Even players that are a little bit more expensive just to get a little bit of a different side this year. There's obviously going to be the 3 or 4 obvious targets in the forward line. Like everyone's going to have Horne-Francis, Bailey, Smith and McRae and players like that. So, but the fact that we've got a discount on these players like Bont as well gives me confidence that we can actually go for a few expensive players. I know it doesn't really pay off most seasons going for too expensive, but I feel like not starting without some of those top line guys can really hurt you, especially in the midfield. So probably won't take discounts in the midfield too much, but definitely in the back line and forward line, I'll consider it for sure. So, yeah, it should be interesting. So if you've got any questions, as Bill's already put through, just chuck them through the comments. I'll answer them and just see how we go tonight. So it's the first potty back for the 2025 season. It's my first live in about 3 or 4 months too. So Bill's boys, welcome back, mate. It says Guy Newcomb, a good option next year. Yeah, I think so, but I actually think his mate Will Day is probably a little bit better as a SuperCoach option. I feel like Newcomb's always had a pretty low floor. And has some inconsistencies. But I do think that Will Day is the guy next in line of the player to take it to the next level. I don't know how much John Newcomb will be. Obviously, a team picker should come out, you'd think, this week coming. Maybe Friday, potentially. Or it'd be nice if it came a little bit earlier, maybe like Wednesday, a week before Christmas would be nice to sort of get a team picker out and see what the prices are like for players. But there's a few other content creators who have been releasing some stuff. I was listening to one guy today, Kai Broom, and he mentioned some really interesting players that I hadn't really thought about, and one's coming back from injury. Like he mentioned Doherty as well, so it'll be interesting to see how much Doherty is. I haven't really thought about some of the players he thrown up before. It was only like a 20-minute video too, and he brought up some really good players. So if you haven't checked that out already, definitely do. So I feel like I've seen him comment on Shorty SuperCoach potentially as well. So yeah, that was an interesting video to watch today. But I don't think there'll be a lot of content out until the team picker is actually out. And then normally in the new year, around sort of that late February mark where we get those match sim games, post the actual Amy series, whatever they call it now. That's when we actually start to get a look at these position changes. And then there's normally injuries as well. So normally there's a lot more rookies that come on board late in the piece because of, 3 or 4 month injuries that happen in pre-season, which is pretty normal. But I don't think the forward line was going to be as difficult as everyone thought it would be this year in terms of, yeah, we won't get some top end premiums. Like, you're probably not going to start some of the more expensive guys. I'm just trying to think of who I'm thinking of. That Hawthorn half forward that scores every year. I've gone blank, and then there's the other guy. Oh, I'm drawing blanks this morning in the forward line. Sorry, this afternoon, evening, whatever you want to call it. Who am I thinking of? He got injured in the last quarter. I'll bring up the SuperCoach Classic after you see what I'm talking about, because I can't even think of those top end guys, because you just never go there. Like, you're not going to go your Kernos and your Mackays next year either. I don't think that's worth it. I think key forwards are just dead. I'm just going to log into my old SuperCoach. I'm trying to think of those two players. Rankin was the player I was trying to think of from Adelaide. I don't feel like he's worth starting next year, considering we've got McRae, Philippou, and players like that, Bailey Smith, Horn Francis, etc. So I'm just trying to think of that Hawthorn bloke. Steve would kill me for not remembering right now. I'm just going to go players, forward line. Who was it? It's going to Dylan Moore. Dylan Moore, who I was thinking of. Like, you're not going to go those sort of players because they're not really value in the forward line. Nor will Rankin. Luke Jackson was in calculation for me, but now we've got that flex position. I'm not going to go there because we're probably going to start that flex as a midfielder or a ruck, you'd think. It tends to be that people are probably thinking ruck early on. It'll be interesting to use that as a spot as a cash cow in the ruck line where you can actually get points plus cash, or do you use it in the midfield as well? I don't know. It's going to be one that we won't really know until late in the piece. Bills boys. Cherry and DeConning set and forget, you reckon, this year? I think it'd be pretty close to set and forget. DeConning I'm not as sold on as what others might be, just because Pitney is still there, and Pitney is only 28. And he did play 13 games. So probably for me, I'm actually thinking about Cherry and Gawn at this point. Just trying to see who else in the forward line. In the ruck line. I'm not interested in Marshall or English this year. Marshall burnt me last year. I think he might get more of a chop out this year too. Nank, I couldn't go Nank just because Richmond's midfielder would have been one pace for me. Witts and Grundy, no thank you. The other guy that I think is cheap enough to sort of run at R2 is probably Lloyd Meek, actually. Lloyd Meek, I think, can build on what he did last year. So probably Meek and Cherry, or Cherry and Gawn. Or if you're using that flex spot, I'd go Cherry, Gawn, Meek would be the combination. And the other one people throwing up is Sean Darcy, but that bloke can never get his body right. If you look at Sean Darcy's games played over the last few seasons, they are no good. He is not durable whatsoever. Sean Darcy, what have you been doing? He's going to be pretty popular because how cheap he might be, but I don't think I'm interested this early on. So since 2020, actually, that was the COVID year, so don't worry about that. So since 2021, I mean, he played a fair bit. He had 21 games. 2022, he had 19 games. Then 23 season, 15 games. Then last season, 12 games. So his scoring's there, though, at the last 4 seasons, 118, 102, 105, and 98 average. But not one for me yet. I think I'd rather Meek at probably not too much more, you'd think, price-wise, potentially. I might be off on that. But Team Picker will definitely show us what we can do with the flex position. Darcy Cameron's an interesting one. If Mason Cox wasn't there, that he would definitely be one. I just know that every time I watch Darcy Cameron, he seems to play forward a lot. Like, I had a multi on last year, and he needed to kick a goal, and it was the only game I wanted him up forward for, and I got the multi. I remember my shift got cancelled that day. I put on a multi. I can't remember who Collingwood were playing. But, yeah, my shift got cancelled, so I was with my mate, and I was like, let's do a multi that I can win at least $200 from, like, a $20 bet. Did that. It sort of covered my shift, but didn't, obviously. And, yeah, Darcy Cameron conked the goal in the last 2 minutes of the game. My multi got up, so it didn't really matter that my Friday shift got cancelled too much. I was still probably a little bit short, of course, but, yeah, it was nice to see Darcy Cameron get that goal, considering I wasn't going for Collingwood in that game. Anyway, I don't know why that was a bit of a side story. And I just don't think either people probably not going to get into SuperCoach until the picker is out. So this live stream probably won't go for too long. It doesn't seem like there's a lot happening tonight. Maybe did a bit late too, but as soon as that team picker drops and I find out, I'll definitely put out my side. I might be even a little bit mid-price madness more than most this season potentially, but I think it is better probably to do a rookies and a guns and rookies, but we don't normally know those rookies until very late in the piece where you're like, all right, he's definitely in the best 22. And then even then, sometimes they don't even get named round one, so it can be kind of annoying. So it's actually better to target those second, third, fourth year players that have finally got a run at it more than your 24 draft crop that have just been recruited. Because normally they haven't done it, obviously, in AFL preseason before. So I'm kind of looking at players like in that mid-season draft that happened, like for Richmond example, we've got a bloke named Jacob Blight. I think he's going to be a rookie in the back line for us. Then there's Bauer from Richmond, who'd probably be about 200K. But he probably plays that second tall for Richmond. So I don't mind a few expensive rookies if they're going to be positive. And I think they're going to score well. I'll definitely go there. So I want to try to be a little bit different this season. I won't be picking like sort of draft kind of players, but definitely do something different. I'll still be doing live streams most Sunday nights as well. After the teams have been done and your scores have been out and go through them and whatever. So that will be still consistent as ever. And then doing jump on and jump off with Steve. We've just spoken about that in the last week or so or whatever. So that will be happening on both our channels. One week we'll do that, and then it'll be on his, and then it'll be on mine, etc. So we'll be doing that segment again. So that's good. And hopefully a few others can come on board for these live streams on a Sunday night as well, after the round's complete and whatnot. So a fair bit next season to do, that's for sure. But just looking at a lot of preseason notes this early is probably a little bit too eager, but it's better to be an early starter than being a late starter in SuperCoach, because at least you got a slight edge, and I'll take a 1% edge over the competition if that's what I can get from looking at the footy earlier on than normal this year. So, yeah, hopefully that strategy pays off and I can follow these players a little bit heavier than what I have in the off-season, because that's where been my biggest issue is my starting size. So maybe I haven't taken enough notes, and that's why I'm starting early this season. Like I've already put out half a dozen videos already. So, yeah, that's something I'm going to consider. And I do got a goal of finishing in the top 1K this year. It's been about 2 seasons since I've had a really nice season. Last year it was more like trying to come back from a really, really poor start. And then climb your way back is so hard. And I think it's going to be hard to climb your way back in this season as well, because everyone's side's going to be so similar, especially the flex. Like most people, 90% are probably going to use that flex as a ruck option. So then there won't be any difference between the 3 rucks that you start to. It'll be very similar. Like if there's only like 4 or 5 rucks I can think you'd have. So if you're going to use the flex, you're going to have 3. Most people are going to have all the same players, that in the forward line and in the ruck. So I feel like the pods you're going to get actually from your midfield more than any other line. I think the back line, there's not a clear 6, but I'll actually go through that. I'll go through what I think the top 6 in defense, midfield, and forward line would be at the end of the year. And just run through that. It's post-Christmas, so it's pretty early to try to predict these things, but it might be a little bit controversial, some of the picks I'm going to pick in the back line for top 6. But probably one for me is going to be Sheasel. And looking at that list going down, I think Sinclair will be number 2, so I'll probably start those 2. I've seen Whitfield as one of the ones picked in the top 6, but like apart from last year, his injury history has never been good, so he probably averages in the top 6, but I don't know if he gets every game played out, because he's normally copping like a concussion or some sort of strain. I don't never trust Whitfield's body to start him in the season. But maybe that flex position allows you to start a player like that. So, yeah, anyway, Sheasel, Sinclair, who else do I think will be up there? I think Max Holmes will be there as well. So that's 3. So a few left field ones potentially. Who else do I think? Jordan Clark, I think 4. I feel like he's another left field one. Don't know about Sicily. Haven't really thought about Sicily too much, if I'm honest. Tom Stewart, haven't really thought about that either since he moved to the midfield. He scored a little bit better than what he was down back. So 5 and 6, I'm actually pretty undecided. Maybe McCurch is up there. That might be a bit of a stretch. So the guys I'm thinking are probably a little bit left field than most. And then 6, who would I think that 6 spot goes to? Someone like Nas, just the way St Kilda play. I think he would be up there. Luke Ryan is another obvious one as well. If he's back in the season, wasn't so poor, I'd probably be starting him, but it just threw me off that the game plan of that chip mark sort of thing where he was getting in the start of the season didn't happen in the middle or the end of the season. So for him to really go off in the first round or two, maybe he's a guy that I'd trade in before the price rises happen or something like that. But yeah, that's probably my 6 or 7 in the defense. Obviously, you can tell I'm winging this. I haven't really thought about too much. 4-9, top 6 by the end of the year is probably going to be Dylan Moore and Rankin would be the 2. Then from that point, you're probably looking at the guys we're going to start, like Bailey Smith, Horn Francis, 3 and 4, Caleb Daniel, 5. And 6, probably someone like McRae. And 7, even a Philpott, I think would be pretty high up there. Don't know about the other spectacle picks. Like Bolton, if he gets a full-time midfield role, I feel like he'll be up there for a top 6 shout. Same with Kennedy as well, if he's playing pure midfield. I think they're definitely ones that you should consider. But not too many more because a lot of them seem to be small forwards or key forwards. So be in that forward line, you ideally just want midfielders and that's it. Then in that ruck line, if I had to pick top 5, it'd have to be Cherry. De Koning would be 2 if I knew Pitnet wasn't playing at all. De Koning, number 2, Gorn 3, Marshall 4, English 5, and probably Nank 6. So I'm probably not looking at Nank or Marshall unless there's an injury to Cherry or someone like that or Gorn in the preseason. And then the midfield's a little bit different. I think there's like a clear 3 or 4. Obviously, Bont's 1, Butters 2, Sarong 3. And then 4, 5, and 6, I'm not really sure because you've got 8 spots for there. What are we looking at? So that's 3 players. Lockie Neal would be probably up there again. 4. Who would I go? 5, Zach Merritt. 6, Uniac. 7, Dunkley. And 8, probably Walsh. I don't like Noah Anderson as a pick. If he could play a well way, I'd probably go there. But he's only like a home ground specialist. It wouldn't surprise me if Chad Warner and Petrarca had a really good season, though. But I don't think I'm going to go too left field in the midfield unless it's a Will Day sort of pick. Taranto, I don't mind for the price as well, but you sort of want to set and forget with your midfielders. I don't want any 400k midfielders either. I don't think it's worth it. So, yeah, what do we got? Ross, there you go, mate. Who's going to be the best SuperCoach in the Tigers? Probably Taranto, I'd say, Ross, but I don't know how close he's going to get to the top 10. If I'm looking at just pure Richmond players, though, that I actually like this year in terms of SuperCoach, Short, if you really wanted a smoky down back and you thought Short was going to get a half back role, you'd pick him again. But does he do better now without Rioli? Because he'll be on kick-out duties, surely, and he'll be the main man through transition. They'll be looking to get the ball through his hands. But if he's playing midfield, I don't want anything to do with Jaden Short at all in SuperCoach. Who else do we got down there? So Taranto, Short. Could I give you a forward for Richmond? Probably Bauer, but I think he'll be around that 180, 200k mark. So it might be a bit expensive, but I feel like he's going to play just about every game, barring injury. There's no one else in Richmond's lineup. Gibcus will be cheap, but I don't think he's going to be playing early rounds for me. Please no one start McIntosh. Don't let me go on a McIntosh rant again. Apart from that, I'm looking through and it's pretty dire for SuperCoach picks, really. I mean, maybe some of the 100k players get a run at it. Even Liam Fawcett, I think he's a second-year player. He's a 197 key position forward, though. So I don't know if he'd be much of a SuperCoach rookie because he might be a slow burn being in Richmond's forward line, considering we're predicted to finish bottom 4. There might be one of those guys that score 30, 40, 50 and make you like 100k in about 10 weeks and could be a frustrating one. I don't think there's anyone else I would look at. Just trying to think. Caleb Smith, apparently, though, from Richmond, has been playing halfback flank to cover Rioli's role. He was 140,000 at the end of the season, but if he's cheap enough, he might be a shout if I watch him in the pre-season. Tom Winter definitely wouldn't go there. He's barely had a season in the last 2 years, really. Like, barely put games together. And that's really about it for Richmond, unfortunately. Jacob White's got to be the only one that I'd consider in that back line as a rookie, though, over Gibcus. That's my Richmond take. But then the Richmond players went across to other sides too. I would have probably been keen on Rioli maybe if he didn't do an MCL in the off-season. Baker, if Baker plays off the half back line or in the midfield for West Coast, he's probably worth taking a punt on. Like, he'd be an absolute pod. Jack Graham, though, no way would I touch Jack Graham. If anyone's a West Coast supporter and thinking about chucking Jack Graham in your side, don't do it. He's so injury prone, it's ridiculous. Ross thought sounds good in the back line. I think so too, but I think there'll also be a few better players like Kitty Coleman, Callum Mills, Doherty, and players like that that might be 50 to 100k cheaper that could probably produce the same amount of points as Short. In saying that, Short does have a pretty good ceiling. Like if I see him take out kick out duties, and like 90% of them early on, he could be a real shout because he's a kind of guy that has averaged in the mid 90s to late 90s. We need him to get to that 105 mark to make him really relevant. Because you don't want to start him and then have him sort of finish top 10 but not be in that top 6, 7 players in your back line. Because he's not worth trading out, but he's also just a little bit behind the others and might be given 5 points up a week potentially, but still not a bad shout. But yeah, just looking forward to the new season. Especially early on, I end up watching a lot of games. And then once you sort of start running out of trades, you don't watch as many games. But the whole flex thing allows us, the one positive thing is if we're not able to see, a late change, at least it's been covered by that. I still stand by that. I think they probably should have just left it as is. Because those injuries are what sets teams apart. Like when that Tom Green incident happened and people had 5, he was a very popular player. So it actually gave us the people that didn't start him a really good jump on the other competition because then they were sort of torn whether to trade him out. It was a real conundrum for that point of the season. But on the flip side, it's hurt me the other way too, where I was up in Madura once. I can't remember which player it was, and Steve texted me and told me that one of my players was injured, and I was like, I didn't want to check my scores for the rest of the round, so I kind of prefer the Russian roulette style of if your emergency isn't playing, then you kind of grit your teeth through a whole game, and whatever score you get, you get. But now they're sort of making it so easy for the novice, so the novice doesn't get bored in the game. I think that's what they're trying to do is bring new people along, but it makes it a little bit more, I don't want to say vanilla, but a little bit more vanilla for the people that have been playing for years because you're kind of like, you want it to be hard because if it's too easy, you can't get good separation from the competition. So that top 10K will be very tight, especially for the first 14, 15 rounds, I feel, with that flex position because your lowest score will be dropped out every week. So competition's only going to get tighter. So you're gonna have to pick a lot of pods, I feel, for your team to start firing off. But if your pods go bad, then you kind of stuff the other way. So I'd rather play that way than have a cookie cutter team and then just, be like everybody else and be stagnant some weeks. I'd rather all out, in my opinion. So that's what I'm going to try this year. Let's see how you go, though. But it'd just be nice to have those preseason games because I think they come out, what are they? Late February for like 7 days straight. This is pure footy. What do we got? Matches. I'll just look it on my phone. AFL's preseason. So the first preseason game is February the 25th. That's a Tuesday. You got Cat v Essendon. I should say Cats. I don't know why I said just Cat. Then you got Tigers v Pies on the Wednesday. Thursday is Hawthorn versus Doggies. In the same night, you've got Brisbane v Adelaide, like 3 hours later. So that's a good game to watch, actually. Then Friday, they've got another 5:20 game, Giants v Carlton, and then Suns v Sydney later on that night. And then 2 more games there. What do we got? On the Saturday, they've got a 3:10 game, Port Adelaide and St Kilda, and then West Coast and North. So we'll be able to watch all these games because they're not on at the same time as each other, which is actually handy. So yeah, actually be able to watch them one by one and get our footy fix finally as well. And then you've got Sunday to finish off the night. Of course, it's a Sunday evening. Freo and Melbourne game on a Sunday night. So that'll be all right. So it'll be a fair few games to watch, but it's so hard to get a sample size of the players you're picking. And you're not going to pick them off that one game. Like, I'm not going to bring in too many players off that one game and get sucked in if they score really high SuperCoach points just off that one game. Because normally the preseason games tend to be a lot more uncontested than contested. So you find like your uncontested players off the halfback line rack it up more than what they normally would, or I don't know. I feel like sometimes it can be a bit of a catfish watching those games. They can make you overthink. And then you got that opening around as well that might shift your opinion on some of the players you wanted to start. And just because some of the teams you watch in opening round scored well, it might kind of ruin your side a little bit. So I'm not going to pick too many players out of that either that I wasn't even considering just based off one game. So I'll probably stick to the players from my team picker. And if I've got a good core of players that haven't left my side, they're ones that I'll lock in before the round starts. But yeah, team picker, I feel like everybody plays with it so much that you almost could do about half a dozen videos on your updated side, just through different training notes or injuries come through. So 4 or 5 players have shifted through your side. The flex thing you've mucked around with a bit for now as well. So see how we go. I'm probably going to finish this video in the next 5-10 minutes, purely because it feels like I am talking to myself a little bit, but I do appreciate the comments that have come through so far. I probably didn't give you guys much notice that I was going on the live stream anyway. I only put it on Twitter the other day. It is what it is, but I'm not into any of the BBL or any of the other fantasy sports. I don't do them at all, barring FPL, but the times for soccer are so bad. Like, there's a Chelsea game at 6 a.m. There's no way I'm waking up for 6 a.m. game. So I'll do that with some lads, but I certainly don't watch every game of the FPL, not at those ridiculous hours. Just the highlights and just follow how Chelsea's going. But yeah, I've never even given AFL Fantasy a full crack either. I feel like it's the one format for me because too many things going on. If you have too many things, then you find if you do like your BBL and all those other content too, you need a break somewhere. So anyway, that's pretty much all from me tonight, unless there's anything else going on. I don't think there is. Once the team picker drops out, though, I'll be sure to upload my first side as soon as I see that picker come out. I'll spend about an hour on it, and then I'll just post my side and see what you guys think. And then, yeah, let me know what you guys think of any speculative picks on my side. If you think they're poor, that's fine. I'm matter to all opinion, that's fine. Apart from that, I might go live. If I end up being live when that SuperCoach team picker comes out, that would actually be an interesting chat. So thanks, everyone, for jumping on post-Christmas. I know, sorry, pre-Christmas. And I'll catch you in the new year if I don't already. Team picker comes out later this week, you'd think. Don't worry, mate. Too easy sounds good. I'll make sure I drop in some people to come for a chat as well in these live streams. And by then, there'll be like at least 20 or 30 years in the comments talking about your side every week as well, and your preseason notes after these games as well. So should be good. I'll chat to you soon. Thanks for jumping on for half an hour and staying tuned. And yeah, keep an eye out for my team picker to be released. Thanks for watching. Cheers, guys.